It's the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go and look alone plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. And this is a show for people who are already informed in daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any question related to NASCAR that isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them away on Twitter at BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that's just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Dover race, the Cup Series race at Dover this weekend. A couple things I want to point out to begin with. I'm going to do something a little bit differently in this video. I think it's going to be actually really helpful. The whole visual thing I've done this year, I feel like people, value like my grades more. So I want to give a little bit more context to how I grade them. And I'm going to have a lot of fun in this episode. Hopefully you guys do as well. Also, we're going to Dover. If I had to think about how a race is going to go, let's just look at the two races last year and two races in 2019. I don't really care about the package per se. I want to see how this race is playing out, just for a refresher for you guys. So Kevin Harvick in the second race last year. This is going from most recent to the oldest. So second Dover race last year, we had Harvick lead 223 laps on his victory. We also had Logano lead 15 laps. We had Eric Almirola lead 22, and we had Ryan Blaney lead 37. The first race at Dover last year, during the whole doubleheader that they did, we had Hamlin win the race, lead 115 laps. Martin Truex Jr. finished second, led 88 laps. Chase Elliott finished fifth, led 27 laps. And Austin Dillon led 49 laps on his way to a 15th place finish. The Dryden 400 in 2019, 30th race of the NASCAR season. In 2019, we had Kyle Larson lead 154 laps on his victory. We had Denny Hamlin finished fifth with 218 laps, and those are mainly the guys that led there. And then the first race in 2019, we had the winner, Martin Truex Jr., lead 130 laps. We had Alex Bowman finished second with 16. We had Chase Elliott finish fifth with 145. We had Joey Logano finish seventh with 16. Suarez with 21, and Keselowski with 58. So what is this just given? I mean, you can look through more and more races, but it usually boils down to the same thing, to where it's going to be one or two guys lead a majority of the laps, and then everybody else kind of gets the scraps. And depending on how you make a lineup, are you just making a two-dominator lineup, which this is legit going to be a dominating race, because these laps click off so quickly. Whoever gets out is going to lead until they're either passed on pit road or something happens to their car, or the track changes, whatever happens. So I would imagine two guys are going to lead a majority of the race, and then scraps are going to be eaten up between everybody else in the race. So are you building just a two-dominator lineup? If you're building that way, then you need to nail those two guys. If you do that, you're perfectly fine. I wouldn't go with a one-lap leader lineup, just because I think you're going to at least see two guys maybe lead over 100 laps. Like, I would project at least two guys to do 120 laps led. That's what I would probably do in my projections, versus just giving one guy 300 laps or something along those lines. I'll probably make a three-dominator lineup, just so I have more chances to try and get those two guys who lead a majority of the laps. And everybody kind of already knows who we're going with, everybody's kind of already playing or plans to play Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, those guys. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time there, because it really boils down to, I will get to all this, it boils down to, we're going to be looking at Truex, we're going to be looking at Hamlin, we're going to be looking at Kyle Larson. Those would be the three guys that I would imagine are going to go out there and lead laps. All it boils down to is just playing whoever leads, though. So if I had to rank those guys specifically, remember, specifically, not pacifically, people. If I had to rank them, probably be Truex first, Larson second, Hamlin third. Those would be my interests there. Now, what do we have on the screen? We don't see any rankings, Brandon. What's going on here? So this is the value, and this isn't necessarily my final projections. Like, all this is just positions. I haven't added any fast laps, laps led, none of that. This is just purely based on where I think the guys are going to finish. And I wanted to bring this up because lineup construction is really going to be, I think this is more helpful than anything I could probably do in the past. And I don't think I'll do this every week, but since I have a Patreon, I try and add new things to the videos each week to try and get you guys to support the channel. So here we are. Last week I kind of did the, early lineup generator, seeing how that kind of looked like. Here we're kind of looking at projections and values. And if you're building a lineup, which, like I said, I imagine a lot of people are going to go this way. So let's say you play Martin Truex Jr., and you play Kyle Larson together in a lineup on DraftKings. Leaves you $6,600 on average for your remaining 4 guys. Remaining salary is actually $26,600. So what does that mean? You're going to be in the 6K range. You're going to be in the 7K range. And so when you're building a lineup like that, like let's just assume, for this example, you have Kyle Larson and Truex. They score over 100 points, okay? So that means we're not getting 9K drivers in our lineup. Like, the lineup is just not going to work that way. High 8K drivers, we're not going to waste our time with those guys. So we're going to really try and break down, you know, these values and these projections that I have for these drivers. And let me actually do this because this will help the color coordination more. I'm not projecting Hamlin for a 5K value. I'm just putting the number there, and I'm not projecting William Byron for a 1 value. It's just there so all the numbers actually even out because I'm looking for a 5X on my return. So let's say we're working with the Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. lineup. We're going to be digging in the 6K range. We're going to be digging in the 7K range. So what drivers are going to work there? What drivers do we want to use? And this, I've blocked some people out because, like I said, I want you to get the Patreon. I want you to kind of do your own research. If you're not going to get the Patreon, I can't just give you everything. But like Ryan Blaney, $8,400. Right now, I have him as a 4.4 value, 37 DraftKings points. Yet again, this is without any fast laps or laps led being projected. This is purely based on where I think they're going to finish, based on place differential, things of that nature. I have Chris Buescher, 6,600, 4.2 value, 28 points. Christopher Bell, 8,000, right out of 5X. Tyler Reddick, 37, things of that nature. So when we're getting down to the 6K range, 7K range, who are the guys popping out? Like when you're looking, and I talked about this a bit in the Dirty Air podcast, I think my lineups are probably going to be centered around, 2 10K guys, maybe 3, depending on what type of lineup I'm going to do. Because I think there's some dominators in the 8K range that you could count as like a 3 dominator lineup, i.e., Ryan Blaney with how Todd Gordon's been helping this team get there, Christopher Bell starting 11th, knowing how good Joe Gibbs Racing is. But for everybody, I'm going to assume we're all playing, Truex and Larson. If we're kind of going in that area, you're going to be in the 5K range, or you're going to be in the 6, 7K range. And so if you're looking at Chris Buescher, okay, I got him projected for 28 points. What about Ryan Newman? Okay, they're projected for the same price. So why would I play Newman here? Why would I play him? So we're gonna go through these and really grade them together. Based off of this, for 8,400, I would much rather go to Christopher Bell. Bell right out of 5X, exactly what you want to see. And this is exactly what I do each week whenever I rank it myself, and certainly when I'm making my own lineups. These are the questions that I'm asking myself here. And so let's continue going down. Between Newman and Buescher, Buescher's a bit cheaper. Like I said, I haven't projected for the same amount of points. When you're looking at Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, the 7K guys, and I'm kind of having interest in this week. Let's throw DeBenedetto, Austin Dillon, and Tyler Reddick in this situation because they're all in the 7K range. Which one projects out to be the better value? Which one projects out to be the better play? I would lean towards DeBenedetto. Now, granted, I'm probably a bit higher than other people here. I think DeBenedetto is going to run pretty good this week. He loves this type of package. You can even knock this down, knock it to 38, knock it to 39, knock it to 40. He'll still have the highest value of the drivers here. We'll see him go from anywhere from, right now I have him at a 5.2 value. Depending on what I project him at, he'll go to a 4.9, 4.8. But even with that, he's still getting more points than Austin Dillon. He'll be right on par with Tyler Reddick. And so if you have, say if you had Matt DiBenedetto for 39 points and you had Tyler Reddick for 37 points, technically the better value would be with Tyler Reddick. And so these are the type of questions that I got to ask myself. You got to ask yourself. And so the guys that I'm looking at right now would be these 3 guys. We're not really worried about Keselowski here. Bowman, he should hit a 5X, probably won't be. I don't see him going much higher than 47 points just because I don't think that can really work in a lineup, especially if it's Truex and Larson really walking away with it here. So let's continue comparing some 6K drivers here. So you got Chase Briscoe starting 17th. Who else is in the 6K range? Well, you got Ryan Newman starting 13th. So let's compare Chase Briscoe to Ryan Newman. Obviously, if I don't like Ryan Newman for 68, I see Chase Briscoe. Okay, he's a bit cheaper. I got him projected for 6 less points, worse value. That's a big no to me. I don't believe much in Chase Briscoe this week at all. He got extremely lucky last week. A lot of things went his way. He got a lot of lucky dogs at the right time. We're gonna leave Buescher as like a C. If anything, he's like a C minus, D plus, somewhere around there. Let's continue going on. So let's look at Ross Chastain. Right now, I got him for about a 4.6 value. If you look at how they've been running here, he should even out to about a 16th, 17th, 18th place finish. We've seen him be aggressive here. And Dover, why is Dover? Why am I focusing on Truex, Larson way up there and just directly starting to talk about the 7K guys? Is because, look, Darlington's a fast track. I've already said that they're going to click laps off left and right. Whoever the leader is going to pull away from the people behind him, just because if you're fighting side by side coming out of the corners, you're losing that momentum for both. Try not to hit the wall. If there's a guy on your inside, you're trying not to hit the wall. If you're on the inside, you're trying not to slide up into the guy on the outside. That in turn allows whoever's in front of you to keep their momentum going while you're kind of checking up, and it kills your speed on the straightaway. That's why you see leaders pull away from the field so easily. Your guys with a fast car can get by people and really pull away easily here. So going to, let's compare like Newman at 6,800 to Chastain at 6,500. Well, in your mind, you would say, yeah, Newman is obviously more risky. But, you know, when you really see it here in terms of projections here, sure, Chastain's only projected to do 2 more points than Ryan Newman, but he's a way better value. You need that $300. And so I would keep Chastain in there as well. And actually, as we continue to go, I'm just not interested in Newman. That's just how we're going to look at it. Ricky Stenhouse, I think he hits a 5x value. We can argue that he can possibly get into 13th, 12th, somewhere around there, but I don't mind him. Anytime you can hit a 5x value, you're going to be in my player pool, I'll do that. So comparing, let's say, Michael McDowell to Ross Chastain. Let's see, I got Chastain projected for 30 points, Michael McDowell for 19. So, like, why am I going to waste my time with Michael McDowell? And this is, like I said, this is normally how it goes. Now we're getting into arguments that are going to be being made. Like, when you're making your lineup, and we'll get to the 5K guys eventually in the back. But when you're making your lineup, you're going to be stuck in the 6K range. And your drivers are going to be looking at, I'll even throw Stenhouse into that because he's 7,100. But the drivers you're going to be looking at is like your second to last guy in are people like Stenhouse, Bubba Wallace, Newman, Buescher, Chastain, Suarez, guys like this. And so what has Bubba Wallace really done, dude? Like honestly here, I talked about on the Dirty Air podcast, is like Bubba has just been, he's been bad. He's been slow. He's going to get fired. Called that earlier in the year. You know, that's just how it's going to go. But, you know, Bubba Wallace for not even a 5x value. Here, let me go over here. What do I have him projected at? Forgot where I have, what I'm giving Bubba right now. Let's see, we're giving Bubba Wallace, being very generous. I'm giving him 5 more positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm giving him like a 17th, 18th place finish, 16th place finish, somewhere around there. So 32 points, you know, like at $6,900, I would much rather go to Ross Chastain for that little bit of savings when it's, you know, $400. I'd much rather go to Ross Chastain. And so that's why I think Chastain is going to carry ownership here. And I'm hesitant in Bubba. 1, because he's hard to get to in his price range. And 2, like, I don't know if he really pays it off. You know, he's in better equipment. He should be performing way better this year. Like, he's not here, man. Eric Jones, barely a 3x value. That's going to be a big no for me. And why am I kind of just saying, oh, that's a big no. His value isn't that good. His price isn't that good. Well, this is the same thing I do whenever I rank him anyway. Just kind of walking you through the situation. Suarez, 6,300, but I think it's going to be hard for Suarez to really get past 22nd, to get past 21st, get in the top 20. If I don't see that, I got to project him finishing like 23rd, 22nd, somewhere around there. That's barely a 3x. And so, yet again, I got to remove him from the price range. Ryan Preece, basically starting where he should finish. That's a big no for me. LaJoy, 5,700. And I talked about this in the Dirty Air podcast. As we get in the 5K range, a lot of these guys look fucking horrible. Man, they're horrible. I don't like LaJoy. Sure, he should gain some positions. We've seen him run a bit better. Let's say he finishes, 23rd, 22nd, 24th. He's around 22 points. That's not going to get it. unless you're just stuck there, but you're certainly not close to hitting value. This isn't the Xfinity series. This isn't the Truck series. Like most of the time, you see guys get, you know, a high 4x value at the very least, like 4.8, 4.9 value, 5x, you know, somewhere around there. I don't want to play someone getting me 3.8x, somewhere around there. Certainly don't want to play Alfredo getting 3x. You know, that's how it is. Kurt Busch, if you want to look at pricing, you know, Kurt Busch, I got him projected for getting me 40 points. I don't think we see him get through the field as well as, I even have a note here that I wanted to bring up. The real concern with Kurt is his track history. I'm afraid his track history really bumps up his ownership, and I can't tell if it's Kurt Busch or the crew chief for the one car, because we saw Jamie McMurray in the same car with the same crew chief, you know, kind of performing the same way. Kurt obviously has been a bit better, but it hasn't been a huge step up. Here, let's bring up his history right quick, because I know people are going to ask me for it. All right, you got to remember, I did this research like last night, so I had to refresh myself before I came back. So when you look at Kurt Busch, and since he's come to Chip Ganassi, his finishes in this one car have been 13th, 40th, 9th, and 13th. At SHR, we had 2 5th place finishes, a 20th, 37th, 15th, and 5th. And so the reason I ask, hey, is this a crew chief? Is this him? Like, does Kurt just have a knack for this track? If so, his knack should help him perform a bit better than how he's performed this year. However, if it's the team, which I think it is, like that's what's really keeping him down this year, I don't see him repeating, you know, those 2 13th place finishes that he had. I really don't. I certainly don't see him getting a 9th place finish. I don't see him getting that. If you do, go ahead, bump him up, give him a 5x somewhere around there. But right now, early in the week, late Thursday, I'm giving Kurt Busch 40 points, man. Maybe I'll bump that up a little bit, give him like a 4.9x, maybe at 5x value. But let's compare him, Kurt Busch, 8,740 points, to somebody like Christopher Bell, $8,000, 40 points. I got them projected for the exact same, so I would much rather go to Christopher Bell over Kurt Busch. This is what I do each and every week. I just wanted to show you guys this, and so because of the only fact that I like, you know, Christopher Bell more. If you're playing a lot of lineups, of course, switch him in and out. If you can get to Kurt Busch, if you're, you know, worried about choosing between Byron or Kurt Busch, things of that nature, feel free to throw him in. But I'm going to rank Kurt Busch as a C. Don't see any interest in Haley. Cole Custer, you know, Stuart Haas. I know they're starting in the back. I know he's at 7,700, but this is just not, you know, this is not a Stuart Haas. I don't like the Stuart Haas right now. And if you look at Custer and how he's performed in this track, and he even looked back at the Xfinity Series and at Dover, you know, he's finished 11th and 10th, and that's when Stuart Haas is on top of the world. I don't see Stuart Haas. We're seeing how much they're struggling this year. I know they're going back to a place that they're comfortable with, but seeing how Cole Custer's been racing recently, seeing how poorly the SHR team is performing in general. Here, let me go back. Sorry, I'm going through everything. Seeing how they're racing the tracks where they should be fast at. Let's see, Darlington, you know, basically race arena 28th. Kansas, 27th. Dega, not counting that. Richmond, 25th. Martinsville, 25th. I know these are different tracks, but I mean, these are places where Stuart Haas in general should be performing better at. Atlanta, 20th. Phoenix, 22nd. Las Vegas, 29th. Homestead, 18th. Like, this is not that 11th place car that we've seen him get these last 2 years, or these last 2 races last year, 11th and 10th. Like, I don't see him getting all the way to 10th place. I don't see him even getting in the top 15. If he continues to perform the way SHR has performed, we'll see him battling, you know, 22nd, 20th, 19th at like max. That's why I have him projected for 22 points. Now you guys might be like, hey man, your projections suck. Well, then go ahead and play Cole Custer. Right now, Thursday, I don't see much. I certainly don't see Cole Custer repeating that top 10. And I'm not going to pay that much for a 2 value. That's just how it's going to be. And now, if I'm really Xing out a lot of these 5K guys, you kind of got to wonder, what does this mean? Like, let's just go ahead and talk about Quinn Hoff and Cody Ware. You can switch these bad boys back and forth. Give Ware 8, 9 points. Give Hoff 8, 9 points. Give him 5, give him 6, whatever the case is. do I really want to pay, over $1,000 more for someone who's going to get me 11 more points? For like let's say Quinn Hoff has yet again another career day of finishing 30th because people wreck out, which is another thing. We haven't had a big wreck at Dover in a long time. If you look at the stats, we're kind of due for one. We're kind of due for a big one, so keep that in mind. That's kind of why Quinn Hoff, worked not optimal last week, but if you went to Quinn Hoff, it wasn't bad because a lot of guys wrecked. He finished way better than he should have. If the same thing happens here, like let's really talk about it. Let's say like Corey LaJoie gets 20 points or whatever. Let's say he loses a couple positions, finishes 20th. Quinn Hoff gets 8, 9, 10 points. For $1,000 cheaper for 10 points less, I'd much rather go punt here. And that's the decision this week that I'm really perplexed with. Is I either want to stick in the 6K and 7K ranges or just embrace punting in the back. I really do. I don't mind BJ McLeod. I'm giving Eric Almirola a flat 5X. That's just how it's going to be. Probably rank him as a B. Anytime they hit 5X, I'm going to give him an automatic B grade because they're not horrible. James, probably not going to do it. Oops, wrong one. Not going to go there. And and I talk about it on the 30-year podcast, and whenever I'm punting dead, if I have an interest in punting someone, it's because they have multiple things going for them. They're starting near the rear. They can't lose a whole lot of positions. Quinn Hoff can only lose two positions. They're darn near the minimum salary, and they have a chance to actually move up. They're a car that could move up. So the BJ McLeod car, the best Rick Ware car, or the Starcom car of Quinn Hoff, because Quinn Hoff is, consistently not wrecking. So you got to keep them in there. And so when you're looking at the grades, based on projections, based on values, it's the exact same thing. If I remove these, it's going to be really ugly here. This is the exact same thing if I just started the video and just had my rankings and chalk here with no context, because people ask, why do I have these guys ranked here? Why do I have these guys ranked there? And it's because this is basically what I ask myself. This is what I go through. And so yet again, looking at, drivers outside of these guys, because look, if you're making enough lineups, you're going to hit on whoever leads the laps. If you're making, one or two lines, you're most likely just going to go to people like Hamlin, Truex, Larson. That's kind of why I'm not wasting a whole lot of time this week on those guys. And if you want to know more, join my Patreon or consider donate. If you like what I did here, please consider sending some money on PayPal. $5, $3, I'm perfectly fine there. If you got some singles, that's just burn a hole in your wallet, send $1 on PayPal. I'm perfectly fine with that. But going through, who should be in your player pool? I don't see Blaney getting 5X, but I'll keep him in there. Who knows? Todd Gordon, that team might show up. Obviously, Also, I want to talk about Elliott. Like, because Pierce got back and he wrote a note of how Chase has, compared to how he ended last year and how he's performing this year. Like if Chase didn't have that heater to end the season, would we really be surprised by how he's running this year and taking out like his last run last year? I was like, no, this is exactly how Chase is running this year. So I'm, that's losing me interest in Chase Elliott. And then specifically, if I'm liking everybody in the top 6 to some extent, that's throwing out people like Blaney, people like Elliott, people like Logano. So we'll just rank him as D's there. But Buescher, 6K range, probably the worst 6K range. It's hard for me to picture a world at Dover where Buescher works his way into the top 8. It's easy for me to picture a situation where he loses spots. And for that price, I'd much rather play Chastain, man. I'd much rather. So that's why I got him ranked there. I like Christopher Bell. He's easy to get to. I think he's still underpriced for what he can do. I could easily bump him up a little bit. And even if I bump him down 38 points, these guys are all pretty similar to me. So I have interest in Bell. I have interest in Reddick, building around that 7K range. People like Reddick, people like Austin Dillon. I don't mind them at all, honestly. Like, if they're close to getting a 5X value, I'm perfectly fine with that. Alex Bowman, 5X, you got to think about how many fast laps he can get. We've seen him click off fast laps this year. If I had to project him for fast laps or laps led, I might bump this up to maybe like 57, 60 DraftKings points. And when we're talking there, we're talking really good play. It just depends on, can you get to Bowman? Say if you're playing Truex and Larson are two of the big dogs there. It's going to be quite difficult. Now, if you play Bowman and whoever does better between Truex and Larson, then you got to start saying like, hey man, Alex Bowman is an A. He's looking pretty good, but right now I would just leave him as a B, based on no projected fast laps or laps led for anyone right now. Yet again, not interested in Briscoe. Like the Benedetto. Might see Chastain be a bit chalky here just because we're kind of seeing the population go to Chastain more often. If he's going to run, between 16th and 21st the whole race, I might rather go to Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick like that. And then that's why I just have Fs around these guys. I'm not interested. I don't really want to mess with these guys. So hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully this let you see things. Live shows returning this weekend for Xfinity and for the Cup Series. Got a special guest for Sunday. We're going to look forward to that. Haven't announced who he is yet, just because we'll wait till Saturday to start saying who's going to be joining me this week. And then on the Saturday show, not sure what time I'm going to start it. Maybe 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'll keep you updated there. I'll probably put the schedule and everything up tomorrow when all that's going there. But hopefully this guys helps you out. I think it's certainly more helpful than kind of having, just chalk or rankings. It kind of gives you more context. But if you want to keep seeing this, let me know in the comment section. Maybe send a little money this way. Support the channel on Patreon if you want to see more of this. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying. I just, help me out here. Show me that you appreciate this type of stuff. And best of luck this week, guys. We'll see you later.